When my husband was in school, he was in the culinary arts vocational. He of all people understands what it's like to have all the best ingredients, but still end up with something totally different from what you wanted. In 1999, Sega wanted to advertise for their upcoming Sonic Adventure game. Deke Animation teamed up with Les Studios, Suzhou Hongying Animation, and Millimetros to bring the world a third Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon in response. Debuting in France and then in the United Kingdom, it had a new, polished animation style, 3 separate directors, a new writing staff, and the voice talents of Jaleel White, Maurice LaMarche, Gary Chalk, Samuel Vincent, Louise Valley, and Haley Ross. This was set up for a pretty tasty cake. So why does Sonic Underground suck floppy donkey dick? As a child, this was my introduction to Sonic. I dabbled with the classic games, but in terms of introduction, Sonic Underground was my jam. This show is rather infamous in the Sonic community, and while it has developed a small cult following, it's not Sad AM. At all. Much like my previous review, there is a lot of ground to cover here, so let's get started. I will give this show credit where it's due and say that the art style is much improved. I think a lot of this has to do with Suzhou Hongying coming on board. A Chinese animation company, they did a lot of work in animation, having their hands in shows such as Clifford the Big Red Dog, Chowder, Gargoyles, Hey Arnold, Phineas and Ferb, Strawberry Shortcake, and a few Golden Films and Jet Lag productions. The animation in Sonic Underground definitely has its hiccups, but it has a more polished, colorful look than Sad AM, though it's not as out of control as Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. Jaleel White is back voicing not 1, not 2, but 3 characters. Sonic, of course, but also his brother Manic and his sister Sonya. I'll comment more on his turn as these characters later on, but let me say, this guy is talented, and I have mad respect for him for deciding to voice all 3. I'm sure this was just a tactic to cut down on hiring costs, but good going to him anyway. Much like Sad AM, Sonic Underground revolves around Robotnik, now portrayed by Gary Chalk, ruling Mobius, and the reigning Queen Alina going into hiding. While in hiding, she gives birth to a set of triplets and gives them away to foster homes to keep them safe. Sonya is raised in a rich, aristocratic home. Sonic is given to a young couple and later raised by his uncle Chuck. And Manic was raised by street rats, raised to be a thief and a pickpocket. Eventually they reunite and learn from an oracle that they have to find their mother, create the Council of Four, and stop Robotnik from destroying their kingdom. This show has its dark moments, but unlike Sad AM, everything here is half-baked at best. Sad AM could get really dark. It was so dark at times that the network demanded they dumb things down in the 2nd season. In Sonic Underground, you can tell they were afraid to overstep their boundaries. The animation style clashes with some of the themes, making it a brightly colored cartoon that tries to be edgy. Instead, it comes across as half-assed. I can appreciate what they tried to do, but it didn't work out at all. Another flaw with the story has to do with the actual story itself. Sonic Underground ran 40 episodes, about 2 seasons. And when the last episode aired, they were no closer to their mother than when they started. Every episode is a constant loop of them trying to find Alina, having to fix a mess Robotnik caused, and then rinse and repeat. The entire show feels like filler. Even the episodes that have any semblance of drama end with them just as far from their mother as they were at the beginning. Secondly, let's talk characters. In my review of Sad AM, I said that Sonic, despite being a good character with some good quality voice acting on the part of Jaleel White, was one of the weaker links. Sadly, it's the same here. I understand there are certain traits Sonic has in every iteration. He's egotistical at times, he can be reckless, and sometimes he doesn't think things through. That's fine, it makes him a flawed character, and that's cool by me. But much like Sad AM, there are moments in Sonic Underground when Sonic endangers not only his siblings in the Resistance, but his own kingdom. And he does so for stupid reasons, like trying to prove himself to Robotnik during a race, or to get chili dogs. Sonya also falls into the Sonic category. Not only does she endanger her family due to her vanity and need to be pampered, there's an entire episode where she gets pissy because she can't go to a debutante ball. Her brothers and fiancé Bartleby pull strings to make it a masquerade ball so she can hide her identity. She responds by removing her mask when she arrives, tipping Robotnik off and putting her fiancé and brothers in danger. I know it was the 90s, and girls really didn't soar beyond OMG, hair, makeup, and parties. But all I can think of is how complex Sally was, and it just pisses me off. Sonya is a horrible character, and her voice doesn't help. There are some times that Jaleel White does an okay job portraying her as a woman, but at other times, she sounds like Steve Urkel with a head cold. Robotnik also has problems. Sometimes they try to make him intimidating, but other times they try to make him comical, and those two things don't meld very well. As for his voice, well, I'm about to say something I'm sure Gary Chalk has heard before, but Jim Cummings was better. Oddly enough, the side characters in this show are far more interesting. There's Cyrus, who was introduced in the episode Tangled Webs, the best episode, in my opinion. His father's captured by Robotnik, and he's forced to side against the freedom fighters in order to stop him from being roboticized. When he realizes Robotnik wants to kill the rebellion's children, he himself rebels and loses his father in the process. There's Knuckles, who makes his television debut, and is conned by Robotnik's henchmen to work against the siblings. He ends up joining the rebellion, but in another episode is forced to choose between his friends or controlling the Chaos Emerald when it starts to tear Mobius apart. There's the Tribe, in the episode Speedster Island, where the chieftain's son is angry that his father is giving up their ancient ways to try and appease Robotnik. There's Argus, Queen Alina's bodyguard, who is roboticized but manages to fight his programming to help the triplets. Sadly, however, he ultimately loses the battle and falls back in line, losing his free will forever. There's so many good side characters that are far more interesting, and they deserve more time in the sun. Speaking of characters that don't get enough time in the sun, let's talk about Manic. Let's talk about Manic. Manic is a genuinely good character that deserves a much better cartoon. Raised in the slums, all of his talents are learned. Sonic and Sonya have powers like super spins, super speed, and super strength, but Manic was taught and had to spend years perfecting his craft. He's also pretty good with machines. He's protective of his upbringing and gets pissy with Sonya and Sonic whenever they make fun of the sewers because he doesn't know any other life. He even admits in the show that he never felt like he had a real home because he was forced to bounce around as a child. And despite his tendency to get a little jealous, or green with envy, over his siblings' talents, he's the most resourceful. It isn't uncommon for Sonic and Sonya to be bickering about some inane bullshit, and Manic's in the background fixing the problem. Seriously, anyone who's seen this show knows what I mean. It always pissed me off whenever Sonic and Sonya would nag him about his thievery, because he's literally the only one that gets anything done half the time. Yeah, sometimes he steals stupid shit, but more often than not, he does so with the intention of raising money for the Resistance. As a matter of fact, the Archie Comics had planned a background story for him in the Sonic Universe number 50 issue. But it was abandoned because fuck Manic, am I right? It's so odd to see such a fleshed out character. Some of the best episodes revolve around him. And everything else around him is so shallow and unfinished that he stands out like a sore thumb. I'm still waiting for that spin-off starring Manic. Obviously, Deke isn't going to do it, so could some fans get on that, please? And finally, the pacing in this show is awful. It's some of the worst I've ever seen. Moments that are supposed to be suspenseful, heartwarming, or emotional are wrung dry because of how badly paced everything is. The only time I feel the cartoon actually did half decent was in the episode 3 Hedgehogs and a Baby, when Hip falls out of his baby basket and Manic tries to catch him, only for the baby to hit the ground and reveal that he's actually a robot. There's a split second where the camera focuses on Manic as a tear drips down the side of his face. It was actually pretty good. Way to go, Sonic Underground. 1 point for you. Phew. Welp, that's it for me. Next time I'll be reviewing...
Hey, wait a minute.
Who are you?
Captain Obvious.
Really? That's really stupid.
You came up with the name, alright? I didn't ask to be born.
Okay. What do you want?
Aren't you forgetting something? Something obvious? The reason this show is so infamous?
No, not really.
Starts with an M, ends with a C.
Nope.
You can't pretend it doesn't exist.
But... I don't want to talk about it.
You have to. Be professional.
This is YouTube.
Fine then. Half-ass it. See if I care.
You're right. You're right. Let's talk about music. The theme song is awesome. Save for Sonic Boom, all of Sonic's cartoons have kick-ass theme songs. In terms of background music, Sonic Underground is probably one of the best. There are some things it does do better than Sad AM. I like that they explore Mobius instead of just staying in the capital or at home. I like the animation, even though it does clash a little with the themes of the show. I like seeing Sonic's family, I like the new characters, and I like the background music. It's very alt-rock, and the instrumentals are pretty damn good. I don't know who's playing the guitar, but good on ya. But there is a certain faucet I don't like. As a matter of fact, many people, even fans of the show, don't like it. Sonic, Manic, and Sonia sing. They have a band, and it's horrible. Every episode has to have at least one song. I think there is an episode where Manic is being mind-controlled by Robotnik, where they don't have a song, but for the most part, yeah. And it's bad. When I was rewatching this for the review, every time they'd start singing, I would pull the earbuds out and wait until it's over. And because Jaleel White can't sing, I'm guessing, they had to hire 3 new actors as singing voices for the triplets. Samuel Vincent took up the role of Sonic's singing voice. And you know what? Tell me if this voice sounds familiar. Not ringing a bell? Listen to it again, but with this face.
There's something missing, something's not quite right, and I can feel it calling to me every night.
Yeah, it's Double D. I love that Ed and Eddie, but every time I hear Sonic sing in this show, all I can think of is Double D. Despite that, the weirdest thing is the other voices for Manic and Sonia are professionally trained. Tylee Ross has multiple degrees in music, teaches at the Tisch School of Music, was nominated for a Grammy, co-founded the East Village Opera Company, and even won an award for stage performance. Louise Valiant won an Emmy for her musical work in Madeline, and is also a voice actress herself. When I wikied him, it came up that Samuel Vincent's genre was jazz, so I'm guessing he too is a singer. These 3 are clearly trained in the art of music, and yet they sound awful. Why? I'm guessing the reason is they were told to sing in a way that made them sound close to the character's speaking voice. Otherwise, these guys are an acquired taste. So yeah, bad pacing, awful musical numbers, so-so writing. This show's a dumpster fire. Obviously, I hate it, right? No. To the contrary, I fucking love this show. Why? Well, let me explain my reasoning. In 2011, I auditioned for Juilliard. I didn't make it in, and frankly, I didn't expect to, but I've been playing music since I was 11. I've also been writing since I was old enough to pick up a pencil. I'm currently working on a novel as we speak, and I have a few works published online. The reason I say this is my creative endeavors started with Sonic Underground. Some of the first stories I ever wrote were fanfictions, Sonic fanfictions, and I started playing the trumpet because I wanted to be a rock star like Sonic. This show isn't good. At all. But it inspired me in a way that very few cartoons have. And it's not all bad. Like, I like Manic. I like Cyrus. The instrumental music is great. I like a lot of the minor characters. It's like a plate of burnt cookies with bits of delicious chocolate throughout. It's not enough to save it, but you can appreciate the effort. A lot of people say that Sonic Underground is worse than Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. Let me say right now, it's not. Absolutely not. Is it as good as Sad AM? Not by a country mile. However, Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog was DiC animation white noise. Sonic Underground wanted to challenge its viewers, and tried to. Frankly, I don't even mind the idea of music. You guys remember Gangnam Style? The entire world was brought together because of it. We had no idea what Psy was saying, but god damn it, we loved that stupid song, and we found common ground with people we didn't even know. There were times in this show that music was used as a way to pick people up. In Tangled Webs, the band plays for the children of the rebellion in order to make them happy. It's one of the few things that these kids have as the world's falling apart around them. I really like what this cartoon tried to do, especially with music. Because music has the power to heal. And much like Sad AM, if you're going into animation or direction, you should really look into this. I feel like you learn more from seeing what doesn't work than looking at what does. When I was in marching band, the director would film every one of our contest performances and make us watch them. We would be able to see who was wrong on what set or who came in too early, and it helped us better ourselves. Oddly enough, this might get me slapped, but I love this show more than Sad AM. Maybe it's nostalgia, but I have so much respect for what they tried to do, and this cartoon inspired me the most, not just out of all the Sonic cartoons, but out of most in general. I think the only others that inspired me more were Ed, Edd n Eddy and Courage the Cowardly Dog. This might be very hokey to say, but I wouldn't be who I am today if I hadn't seen this. It pushed me to try new things, and I'm truly grateful for that. As you can see here, I have a little chart from best to worst, and Sonic Underground is sitting square in the middle. With that said, stay tuned for my review of Sonic X. I planned on getting it out this week, but there were some renovations in my apartment, and my husband and I were forced to leave. The internet is currently down as I'm recording this, so this video will be late, as will the other two that follow. Regardless, I do hope to have Nostalgia Month wrapped up by December 1st, but I don't want to compromise quality. If you liked what you saw, feel free to comment below and subscribe. I'll see you guys next time.